Okay, look, if the digital world of marketing is so huge and so incomprehensibly brilliant at bringing in clients, is the inevitable consequence of that that you should simply not bother doing any form of in-person or traditional marketing? That's the question for today. My name is Chris Hargraves. I'm from digitalmarketingforlawyers.com. And given that, you would think that my natural tendency is going to be to tell you to do everything digital. If you don't have all of the fanciest and latest and glitziest things at your disposal, then you might as well just toss your entire marketing plan in the bin. That would be terribly bad advice. And the reason I say that is, of course, the same reason that I've been saying ever since I started this series, and frankly for many, many years now, which is the nature of legal marketing is not about the tools that you're using to do the job. The nature of marketing when it comes to lawyers and professional services more generally is about relationship building. And honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter how you go about doing that. If you want to go about doing that by reaching out to 20, 30, 40, 50 people every day on LinkedIn and commenting individually and specifically and kindly and developing a relationship that way, that probably will have an impact on your marketing efforts. Similarly, going and having 6 coffees a day, ignoring the impact that might have on your kidneys and liver and your general hyperactivity, having 6 coffees a day with someone else using the whole never lunch alone sort of philosophy, always meeting people, always shaking hands, getting from A to B to C to D to E to F and developing relationships that way will probably also move the needle in terms of your marketing efforts and your return on your investment. So which one should you pick? Should you just go full digital? Now, digital is good in a number of respects. Why is it good? It is good because you can scale it very easily. You can send 20 messages on LinkedIn in the time that it will take you to pick up the phone and get past the secretary of the person that you want to speak to and invite them to a coffee. Okay, so it has that time benefit to it. And so far as those recipients are concerned, those who actually read your messages or your comments, will probably find them to be, if you're doing it properly and well, will probably find them to be personalized enough, and they will be reminded of your existence, which sometimes is the point in a catch-up in a person-to-person sort of situation. And so there is that benefit. You can do a lot more. You can also do it at 4 a.m. Not a lot of people want to get up at 4 a.m. to have a coffee with you, okay? But if you're a 4 a.m. person or you're an 11 p.m. person, you can do those sorts of connecting activities at that time. So there are some benefits there. The scalability is there, the tools are there, and you can also start to meet new people a bit more easily in that sort of space too. Twitter is good for this, LinkedIn is good for this, even Facebook groups are good for this, to interact with like-minded people on similar topics that we all sort of generally hover around or might agree about or have an interest in, and to have a conversation with them. And that's how relationships ultimately are built, through conversation, says the guy talking to a microphone in a room by himself. But in a sense, I'm having a conversation with you too. So this is a digital marketing effort attempting to communicate with more than one person simultaneously. I just pretend that you're at the other end of the lens on the camera that's pointing at me. It's a little bit creepy. It's a little bit sort of Hal, that if you're, don't worry. It's like Hal, what are you doing, Dave? It's the situation though with digital is that the intimacy of the relationship is not always the same. Now, you would need to be particularly talented to suggest that an interaction on LinkedIn, commenting back and forth with someone a couple of times, has the same sort of intimacy as going out to coffee and having a conversation with someone face to face. You can't necessarily read their cues. Everything's a little bit more staged and a little bit more polished. You're less natural, and you're not going to necessarily be as vulnerable in that online space as you might be in a face-to-face coffee situation or a lunch situation or a meeting situation or whatever, or a networking event or whatever it might be. So what is my advice? Should digital replace traditional? No, it shouldn't. But what are you good at? What are you natural at? What most fits into your work day and the nature of what you do day to day? How are you actually using your existing tools and your existing talents? Are you a particularly effective operator when it comes to working a room in a face-to-face networking situation? Or are you super awkward and unable to do that and you end up just hanging around with the 2 or 3 people that you already know? And that could be useful depending on how your relationship with them is and how valuable they are to your firm, but it's not necessarily. And if you're terribly bad at that and you're not prepared or able, or no one's giving you a kick in the pants to actually get you out of that mindset, then perhaps some online marketing or some digital marketing might be good for you. However, come back to what I've said previously, which is the nature of digital marketing is that it's building assets. As well as building relationship, you're building assets. Videos like this will be here when I post it, and it will be here until I delete it sometime in the future when I realize that what I said was stupid. Now, you can't replicate that sort of permanency with your face-to-face marketing efforts. So there are upsides and downsides to each. You don't get the permanency with face-to-face marketing, but you don't get the intimacy with digital marketing. So my best advice, as it is with basically everything, is to try a bit of both. Do a bit of both. Use them to feed each other. Use them to work with each other. Use your digital marketing to connect with people and then take that to a face-to-face relationship, or vice versa. People you meet, interact with them online as well. Build your relationships using all of the tools available to you. And if that's coffee, that's coffee. If that's lunch, that's lunch. If it's LinkedIn, then it's LinkedIn. And if it's Twitter, then it's Twitter. But use the tools that you have and be dedicated to building those relationships. One won't replace the other anytime in the foreseeable future, but as they do, or if they don't, just use what is available. That is the best advice I can give you, and don't forget the point, which is to become known, liked, and trusted with the defined audience of people that you have chosen and who are going to be beneficial for you. That is it. That is all I have to say. Don't forget to subscribe.